Hello and welcome to the Wedding Dish Podcast. Grab your fork and knife and take a seat at our table as we dish on all things weddings. You'll hear stories and tips from real couples and wedding pros about love, life, and entrepreneurship. I am Sara Alapin. I'm your hostess with the mostest on the Wedding Dish Podcast, and I am also the CEO of Photos from the Harty and District Bliss. Today, I have my little French bulldog Bud sitting behind me. He's wearing socks because he's got his poor little paws are in rough shape from the winter, and he is not pleased with me about it at all. Thank you for tuning into the Wedding Dish today. I am really excited to be chatting with you all. Before we get started, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, you've got to check it out. We dished with DMV real estate agent Kimiko.scott about the home buying process, where to start, tips on the inside information that you might need, the whole process. Buying a house is a lot, and she makes it so much easier. So, and by the way, DMV, for those of you who are not listening in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, that's what I mean, not the Department of Motor Vehicles. Much like wedding jargon, it is very easy to forget that, we use a lot of words that not everybody knows. Anyway, let's get to it. Today, we are actually answering questions that I received about photography last week at our couple social, or I guess in real time, in your time, listener. It is 2 weeks ago now, but for me, it was last week, and it was so much fun. Oh my goodness! I guess I'll link to the zine, the digital zine that we put together with the timeline and the tips from all of the professionals who were part of the event. It's really great. If you didn't make the event, you should still grab it, and I'll also link to the pictures in case you want to check it out, and the video. So much fun. Anyway, so little behind the scenes info if you didn't make it. Our couple social is essentially an alternative to a wedding expo. Frankly, I started doing these in 2015 because I just didn't like wedding expos as a person who had been married and had attended them, and also a person who had worked them. I found that I never converted a single sale out of them, although I would get a lot of inquiries from them. It was people who just, maybe weren't like the right fit, or they were so early in the wedding planning process, or, they just never booked, and it just didn't feel authentic or fun. And then as a person who attended them, like to meet vendors, I was so overwhelmed when I went to those. I went home and literally threw out every single business card that I got because it wasn't the right fit for me. And a lot of my clients, in a lot of ways, meet that same personality style. So it's important to me that those people have a place to go, that all of you have whatever it looks like, even if you are a big wedding expo fan, I want you all to have that place. So I started hosting these. They were wildly popular, and they've been so much fun. And my company, District Bliss, used to host them, and we transitioned it to the Wedding Dish this year. So anyway, that's the behind the scenes info. And we worked with an incredible team of vendors who I will link to, and they're also linked out to in the zine. So you should definitely grab that. It's totally free, and you don't even have to give me your email address to get it. It's just our gift to you. So I actually photographed the event, and I honestly try not to do that because it sort of splits my brain and personality, because I'm hosting an event and I'm trying to meet people and welcome them, but then I'm also trying to promote my photography services, which I didn't want to have to do, but it's just the kind of the way it shook out, and I loved it. It was so much fun. It worked out great. And I collected photography questions. So now I'm going to answer these questions that I got from you all that attended, or who weren't able to attend but submitted them to me digitally. So anyway, all that to say, I feel like I'm rambling today because I'm on my own on this one. I'm interviewing myself. How weird is that? All right, but we're doing it. So here are the photography questions I got for Photos from the Harty, my photography business. So here we go. This is so awkward. I'm interviewing myself. Okay. How long have you been shooting weddings and how many weddings have you photographed? So I started shooting weddings in 2005. I was a high school teacher. I taught darkroom photography and then digital photography as well once that came into schools, which it wasn't in 2005, which is so crazy. But I started shooting weddings as my summer job as a teacher. And it supported my financially, it supported my getting my MFA in photography and digital imagery. And it also supported my traveling because I used to travel for like 3 weeks over the summer. So I would shoot like, a couple weddings here and there. And it was really fun and just, it was just side income. And in terms of number of weddings, oh my gosh, if we're including elopements in that, hundreds. There are years where I did over 75. So that gives you just kind of, and I went full time in 2012. So, initially I only photographed like 5 a year. And then when I went full time, there were years I photographed 75 weddings and elopements. So that it's a lot. It's a lot. It's hundreds. How would you describe your working style? Do you prefer to blend into the background to capture candid moments, or do you like to be more visible and take charge to choreograph images? So this is kind of an interesting question because I think most photographers probably meet in the middle of these and just somewhere on this, it's kind of a sliding scale. So I like to think that I am kind of a photography ninja. I try to blend into the background. I try not to change the event. So my goal is to tell the story of your day and to step and remove myself from it. Essentially, I don't want to influence your story. So every wedding I photograph is totally unique. And yes, of course, I have a style and I have an editing style, which is natural. But the goal is to use my expertise to capture your story and tell your story, not your story through me. I guess it's kind of like I'm the narrator, but I'm the one that just kind of like that. The goal is to fade into the background. That being said, there are parts of the day where I obviously have to be visible and take charge to choreograph images. And those pieces are the ones where, we're doing the posed photos of your VIP/family photos, or your wedding parties, or the two of you together. And in those moments, I have to step in and choreograph and tell you where to stand and all the things. But anything that I actually have to choreograph, I kind of gamify. I like to think of it as like The Price is Right. So I yell out who's on deck, and then I say like have them come on down to come in. It gives natural smiles, especially for people who are not particularly comfortable in front of the camera. So gamifying it just makes it more fun for me, but also it moves it along much faster. I mean, it also makes it more fun for everybody involved, but it moves it along faster and it keeps people engaged, so that they aren't wandering off to go get a drink or use the restroom or whatever the case may be. So those things are always going to be important parts of your day, but I like to make them as short and sweet as possible, as opposed to, having that be hours of photographing post things. I will also always ask my couples if they want to, obviously this is applicable based on lighting on the day of and time of the wedding, but if you are if we're able to do sunset photos, or golden hour photos, I always ask my couples if that's something they're interested in. And then I will just quietly check in with them at that time or right before that time to let them know that's coming up. And then if they decide to opt out at that moment, sometimes they don't care enough, or they're really enjoying themselves and they don't want to step away. Or, sometimes they're in the middle of eating and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And it's like 10 minutes done and back to the celebration. So I think it's, for me, it's more important to tell the story, but also that's part of your story. You want some of those post photos. So it's kind of a roundabout answer. Can I customize a package to fit my needs? Of course. You should have a package that fits your needs. If you only need 2 hours of photography, you're not paying for 8 hours of photography. That would be very silly. If you want 2 photographers or 3 photographers, if you want us to stay to the end of the night versus photograph just the main traditions, then, that makes a big difference too, because that's number of hours and number of photos taken. And the number of photos taken impacts the amount of time spent culling and editing. And, all of that goes into what your investment is for your package. So yes, you absolutely can customize because you should have the right fit for what you need. Do you include engagement photos in your packages? And what about pre-events like rehearsal dinners? I love to do engagement sessions, and I really love doing rehearsal dinners, and it's kind of for an interesting reason. They are an option to add into your package. It is not a requirement. Again, your package should fit your needs, and if you aren't interested in doing those things, then we're not going to have you pay for them. Or, if you don't want those photos, why would you get them? That would be very silly. So, I love doing rehearsal dinners. I think they are a very underthought about piece, but it allows me to meet your VIPs the day before and get to know them and let them get to know me. So it makes the whole posed photos move a little bit easier. It's more fun. Everyone's excited to see me because I'm excited to meet them. So then the next day, everyone's like, "Hey, Sara, it's good to see you again. Welcome. I'm so excited." And also I get better photos. And then they're more comfortable coming up to me later and asking for photos of, your mom and dad together, or your mom and mom together, or your dad and dad together, your grandparents. So it's kind of cool because people are more comfortable with me and they're more excited, generally speaking, about the photo process. So that's really fun. I really love doing rehearsal dinners. If you haven't considered it, I would think about it if that's important to you, especially if you have people who are not comfortable on camera or in front of the camera. Do you offer retouching, color adjustment, or corrective services? And are those included or an additional charge? Of course, I retouch. While I try to get everything right in camera because that saves me a ton of time later, and my background is in photography, I have a master's. So I definitely want to spend as little time retouching as possible. It means you get your photos back and it means less time for me. But I am always going to have to readjust. Maybe I have to level the crop so that it's not like if it's tilted slightly or something. And those pieces are very important to me. Or maybe there's a reflection on something that I need to pull or whatever. So I try to do minimal retouching because, again, I want it to be accurate to your day. But yes, of course, I retouch every single photo. Minimally or more than minimally, depending on what's needed. And I always try to set myself up to need as little as possible. Can we order prints or albums directly from you? Absolutely you can, but you do not have to. And I believe that this is mostly now the case with photographers in general. So you, generally speaking, don't have to order prints or album. You get the printing rights. There is an option to order archival quality prints through my site, and albums, but you certainly don't have to. It's not a requirement. And if you want, something that lasts forever, then sure, order it through. It's super inexpensive. But if you want something that you just want to stick on your wall that you're not like super tied to, Costco actually has some really good printing options, by the way, and I think it's an underutilized print shop. So if you're looking for something you might change out and it doesn't need to last for 60 years or something, then that's a good option to look into. They do like glass prints and stuff too that are really cool. Anyway, not an advertisement for Costco. How long after the wedding will we receive our images and how are they delivered? So, and most of these questions probably go for the vast majority of photographers, but these are good questions for you to ask your photographer. I thought these were really well thought out and really good questions. A lot of times people don't know what to ask me. And so I'm actually going to save these for when people are like, I don't know what I'm supposed to ask because I've never hired a photographer before. Then I'm going to save these and I'm going to answer them for people. Or I guess I could just send them this episode. Ooh, brilliant. All right. So how long after the wedding will we receive our images? So that depends. I try to go through them as quickly as possible. My eyes do need breaks because, I need to make sure your color balance and your white balance are accurate, true to life. So sometimes if I've been sitting editing too long and I'm doing like a marathon edit, I'll start to see that the skin tones will get more magenta and I'm like, oh, I need to take a break. My eyes are tired and they're not seeing color properly anymore. So, and so it depends on the number of hours at your wedding. It depends on how heavy my wedding load is during that time. But the max amount of time is 3 months and that's the max. So, I always tell my couples to plan for that and I try to deliver them as quickly as possible. I also send a hefty preview that has really cool moments throughout the day, some of my favorite photos from the day. And those kind of like hold you over and that comes out within 48 hours. So it's super easy. And then I deliver them on my website. You can lock your gallery with a password and then you can actually download them directly from the site. It lives on there in perpetuity and you can send the link to your friends and family so they can download photos too, which is super fun because I'm always so disappointed when I'm a guest at a wedding and then I'm not able to actually get any of the photos. So to me, that's actually a really important bit where couples can send that out. And it's just, I have it locked, so locked in quotation marks, so that I can make sure that you don't have random people just entering your gallery. But so it's safe and protected, but it's also, and I monitor it, but it's also really easy for everyone to get access to the photos they want. So super fun. And also my couples get a lot of gifts from their friends and family when they send them out because people love to print your photos and do something cool with them. Super fun. Anyway. Will I have the rights to the images? Absolutely. You can print them wherever you want and you can do with them whatever you like once I deliver them to you. Will the images be accessible online and for how long? I just answered that, so I'm not going to waste your time answering that again, but they live on there until the end of my website, which hopefully won't be anytime soon. How comfortable are you with different lighting styles? And if we have to use our rain plan, which hopefully you won't, will you be able to adjust to the lighting? Yes, I'm absolutely comfortable with different lighting styles. I have photographed in all kinds of crazy lighting situations. My least favorite probably being some of the dance floor lighting is some of my least favorite because you can get like green spots on people's teeth or like weird things that happen. But I mean, that's me being critical of my own work as opposed to you should have the party you want. So if you love those like spinning little circle lights and you are cool with the photos that you see of those, then absolutely. It's just my personal, I'm always like, dang it, there's a green spot halfway on this person's eye. But in terms of like, if it's dark outside and we're doing a sparkler send off, I've done tons of those or glow sticks or whatever. I'm absolutely comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with off-camera flash, all the things. And if you have to utilize your rain plan, that doesn't necessarily preclude you from going outside. We do have some tricks that I use to make it a little bit better. And I have a rain hood for my camera. It's like a little rain jacket for my camera that allows me to easily go outside in the rain and photograph. I've photographed tons of weddings where it's been torrential downpour in the rain and the couple goes out with their champagne and they're like dancing out in the rain. And it's super fun. And if that's your jam, I will make it work. So yeah. That's it. If you have questions for me to answer on the wedding dish or for another wedding professional, I always accept those. You can submit those through our website, theweddingdishpodcast.com. And that's all I've got for today. So thank you so much for tuning into the Wedding Dish podcast and for sharing these questions. It was so much fun. Grab that digital zine. You can get the suggestions and tips from the different wedding professionals that were part of our couple social, and also the wedding planning timeline. So when should I try my dress on? When should I start looking at venues? When should I? All the things. And you can follow us on Instagram at The Wedding Dish Podcast. Please visit our website, theweddingdishpodcast.com. You'll get show notes. You can get that zine will be on there. You can apply to be a guest, and you can sponsor us or donate to us so we can keep bringing you juicy wedding tips and tricks from couples and wedding pros alike. Tune in next week. We will be chatting with another amazing professional from our couple social. And if you like the podcast, give us a follow, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting app. It helps us out a ton. It makes us more discoverable and all the good stuff. Until we meet again, cheers.